All right, everyone, can we take our seats, please? I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association Student Senate to order. Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to move into roll call.
Adams, Armstrong, Arnoldi, Belk, Bergston, Bothwell,
Here.
Bowen,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Carpenter,
Here.
Cole,
Here.
D. Moranville,
Here.
Dunfield, Esses,
Here.
Gammon, Killian Keene,
Here.
Grover,
Here.
Gupta, Hammond,
Here.
Hart, Heatherman,
Here.
Alec Hildreth,
Here.
Derek Hildreth,
Here.
Huffman, Javin,
Here.
Karamali,
Here.
Kidd, King,
Here.
Kulkarni,
Here.
Leverett,
Here.
Mari,
Here.
Marshall, Morgan, Neatery, Orth,
Here.
Orzakowski,
Here.
Pelton,
Here.
Penny, Riffle,
Here.
Roman,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Spellman,
Here.
Spencer,
Here.
Sullivan,
Here.
Tile, Thompson,
Here.
Chumlin,
Here.
Wessel,
Here.
Wilhelm,
Here.
Whitmer,
Here.
and Yogata done. All right, there are 39 senators present, 2 excused, and 9 absent.
All right, we'll move into first open period. Our first speakers this evening are Rebecca Gold and Victor Valdez talking about the IT strategic plan.
Sorry, I really thought I had more time because I thought I was going to present this during my report, but Rebecca Gold couldn't make it because she's out of town, so I'm just going to present to you the strategic plan for the IT. They came over sometime in November, which is last semester, seems like a long time ago now, to present the IT strategic plan, and I have a script I have to follow. So, the following almost a year of data gathering and drafting and redrafting the IT strategic plan is available for review by the campus community. Within the plan are 4 guiding principles, 8 overriding goals, including critical success factors, 30 objectives, and 97 associated activities. Note, this is a 3-year fluid plan, which will be updated as changes occur in the IT community environment. Our intent is to make this process work for K-State rather than to work for the process. The IT strategic plan is available from kstate.edu /IT strategic planning. IT-strategic planning. So if you guys open up your laptop, you know, most of you already have it open, so just go to Google Chrome and type it in. That's kstate.edu /IT-strategic planning /index.html. Easy, right?
Victor, I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Okay, I'll say it one more time. kstate.edu
Got it.
/IT-strategic planning index.html.
Should you turn the mic on? I can't hear you.
Turn it down?
Turn it on.
Turn it on? I shouldn't be struggling this much, right?
There we go. Okay. One more time. Okay. kstate.edu /IT-strategic planning index.html. No? Well, that's the link I got.
They can do ksu.edu,
You can do ksu.edu.
because I wrote K-State without the dash.
Yeah, K-State has a dash too,
Yeah.
but you can do KSU. Thank you, Lacey. If we don't have it pulled up, I have the goals right here, so it's fine. The goals are unifying organization and governance, modernizing infrastructure, re-architect enterprise applications, strengthening communications and feedback, enhance user experience, evaluate IT service delivery, enable IT for research, improve enterprise security, and I'll go into those more in depth in a little bit. We are now conducting listening tours to make final edits to the plan. It is imperative that we incorporate feedback provided by the campus community into the plan, as this will guide our efforts and resources moving forward. A critical success factor for the IT strategic plan is united, distributed, and central IT staff as one IT community to address our collective challenges. Our one IT community connects hundreds of distributed and central IT staff invested in reaching the goals outlined in the strategic plan and addressing the challenges that surface in an ever-shifting IT environment. So I'm going to go more in depth in the goals. So with unifying governance and organization, one of the big problems that IT has right now, one of the problems I've had to circumvent, is that IT is pretty split up. So there's the central IT, but then there's also remote IT offices. So with a lot of the problems that we're trying to address, for instance, getting key card access across the university, it's just really hard to do that because each unit of the university basically is acting independently, and there's no centralization with it. So getting one key card system, which would seem like a simple goal, is really hard to do when everybody's just doing their own thing. So that's an example of something that's really important that might seem like a small thing, but in the long run, it's going to be very beneficial for improving IT infrastructure across the university if we're all centralized and we all have one direction that we're all working for. After that, modernizing infrastructure. As you know, our data center kind of got burned down with our library, RIP. But one of the important things about infrastructure is that it includes networking and communications, and inside of that is Wi-Fi. Now, a lot of students have been griping about Wi-Fi for a very long time. I've griped about it in my 4 years here, and it's one of the biggest problems that's facing K-State, because there's a lot of places that don't have good Wi-Fi connections, such as Waters Hall, where I spend 90% of my day. So modernizing infrastructure is a really important goal because it allows us to just better communicate and have better connectivity to the internet, which is very important for all of us, right? Next, re-architecturing enterprise applications. This kind of goes into the ERP, which is basically cases and a lot of different applications that not all of us use. Some of it is more on the back end where accounting and financing and enrollment go to. But we're in the process of getting that upgraded with a new system. So that's going to be very exciting. There's a lot of other things that are involved in here, but for students, it doesn't really matter too much because the part we focus on most is going to be the cases experience, which I know I don't really like that much, and it looks like it was made in 1999. I think you guys can all agree with me on that. Next, I'm going to go into enhancing user experience. So this is basically us. This is like where we fit in. We all know that a lot of the applications that we use for K-State don't work on mobile, but like 90% of our interactions with kstate.edu is on mobile. So this is going to be really important for us because that means that like if we want to get, I don't know, let's say our DARS report on mobile, then this is going to be like the part where we focus on like, hey, we want to get our voice in there and be like, hey, we want this, right? But the thing is, it's going to be like long term, so it's going to be like in our future. I won't even be here anymore, hopefully. Yeah, and then enable IT service delivery is getting our like new systems out there faster, delivering IT resources to students and to administration, and then improving enterprise security is basically what I talked about in October during Cybersecurity Month. Is there's a lot of people at K-State that get their accounts compromised and then they send out phishing emails that then us as students click on. Hopefully they don't, but that part is like a really big risk because our information can get out there and there's been a lot of information leaks in the past. So addressing that is a big priority. But now instead of opening up myself for questions, I have questions for you guys. So what are the strengths of this plan and what are the goals and activities, or is there anything missing? So yeah, give me feedback or ask me questions.
I have a question, Victor. So I'd like to begin by I didn't understand about half the things that you talked about.
Thanks.
Because a lot of that is very I'm glad that you're an expert on it and I'm not. But I do have a question in regards to student IDs. A lot of schools are moving towards implementing them on their cell phones. Has IT discussed any movements forward in adding those to the Apple Wallet or any other apps like the K-State app on our iPhones?
I'm going to refer to Vernon on that.
What was it? It was hard for me to hear a question back there.
So Lacey asked a question about K-State IDs. So our student IDs, a lot of schools have been moving towards getting those implemented to the Apple Wallet or onto our mobile devices. Have the IT community worked towards that?
That I don't know, but I'll take that question back to Central IT.
Sure.
To look into.
Cool.
And I can also say it wasn't something that was in the strategic plan itself, but that might be something that in the future, there are things that are high priority, but that might not be on the slate right now as very high priority, but it might be as like a medium priority item.
Cool. Thanks, Victor.
Are there any other questions for our speaker?
Or answers to the questions I posed? Yeah, so if we don't get feedback, essentially what we're saying is like this is a perfect plan. There's no loopholes, there's no like cracks, nothing that needs to be improved. It's A-okay. Is that what we're saying? Andrew.
I think as far as it goes, like a short presentation is sometimes too short for us all to understand and find problems with this plan. So I think we might need to take more looks at it before we can make sure it's perfect.
I will email out the link I have so that way instead of you guys typing it, you guys can click it. And then you guys can send me feedback and then I'll forward that to Vernon.
And Victor, there will be some more feedback sessions, so stay tuned for that because we'll communicate that out through several different means. So be aware that we're still taking feedback on the plan, so nothing is set in stone. So just make sure you're aware of those feedback sessions so you can give us your input.
Is there anything else for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you so much. Our next speakers will be Kaylee McLaughlin and Rachel Hogan, who are the co-editors the co-editors in chief of the Collegian.
Hi, I'm Kaylee McLaughlin. I'm a sophomore in digital journalism.
And I'm shorter than Kaylee.
Oh.
Oh no. My name is Rachel. I'm a senior in digital journalism, and I think it's funny because we both work at a newspaper and TV station.
So that is actually going to lead us into a little bit about what we're talking about. But first, Rachel's going to give like a brief synopsis of like our transition out of like into power and as Rafael has stepped down.
Yeah, so a lot of you guys know Rafael Garcia. He was the old co-editor, or not co. I mean, for a hot second, he was a co-editor-in-chief, but then for 2 semesters, he was like the only head honcho. Anyway, he's still working with the Collegian, so if you guys like him, he's still around. He's the news and investigations editor. So if you guys ever have any news tips or concerns or anything like that, you can bring them to Rafael or us. We're always in the newsroom, or someone is always in the newsroom, which is in Kedzie 116 right across the street.
Okay, so far over winter break, Rachel and I worked a lot on updating the website. So if you've been on there, you might have noticed some changes. All of the desks, well, half of the desks have new names now in the interest of engaging the students better. And then we've also updated the multimedia presence on our website. So the multimedia bar has been moved to the top because we're working on developing a bigger multimedia presence, but then also you can now access the print edition in a digital form on the website if you go on the news tab.
What am I talking about next? That one? Yeah, so kind of going along with that digital thing, part of that is to accomplish one of our goals, which is taking a student-centered approach, and not all of our students are picking up our print editions. Students are online and they're on social media, and that's where we're really targeting, and I think we have seen a lot of that based on our social media following. Today we just broke 8,000 Facebook likes, which is pretty exciting. And we've really picked up on Twitter. If you guys have seen our fire tweets recently, we're pretty proud of them.
We think we're really funny.
We know we're really funny.
Okay, so kind of leads us into the end of it. We just want to remind you that Collegian Media Group is 3 publications that it employs 6 staffs made up of up to 200 students. And being a student publication, that kind of means 2 things. It means that 1, we're learning what we're doing while we're on the job, but 2, it's for you guys. So we are learning and we're not always perfect. So if there's something that you guys think that we should do better or you want to see more of, let us know, because one of our biggest focuses is audience engagement right now. That's it. Do you guys have any questions or anything? Yes?
I know I said something about it last night, but is it possible to integrate tweets into your articles?
It is. So one of the issues, our content goes through a system onto the WordPress website. So sometimes those media tweets aren't always integrated, but that's something that we've actually been working on. It's part of phase 2 of the website reboot. So phase 1 was making it look like more of what our newsroom looks like, but phase 2 is going to be like media integration and all these nerdy, geeky buzzwords.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Chair Penny.
Yeah, I know that last year during your privilege review, a lot of the topic was on moving from print to digital. So how has that affected your strategy with advertising, underwriting, and kind of transitioning to a new market?
So our ad staff is fantastic, but they've been working on doing more social media-based advertisement. We've done our first Instagram advertisement, which was exciting, but all of it is sort of in the interest of being an actual student publication. Our prediction is by the time that Bailey Britton, who's the new SGA reporter, graduates, we'll be down to 2 or maybe 1 print editions a week. And part of our goal is to prepare our platforms for that.
Also, in the summer, we normally print once a week, and at our next Board of Directors meeting, which is Wednesday, a week from yesterday, we're looking at decreasing our print edition so we can have the funds to continue moving into a more electronic and digital product.
Any other questions? Senator Hildreth.
Yeah, just with this talk about going digital, does the online version still have the crossword puzzle?
It does not, but that is something that we can look into as we do integrate more.
Further questions? Chair Spellman?
With the changes you've made in the past couple months, how has that affected the amount of readers online and then on print?
So our readers are up. So every week I do this really nerdy color-coded like story analytics thing, and it shows that our readership is up. We're focusing on covering popular topics like weather topics have done really well this month, and that kind of content is what we're focusing on. And with increased social media followers, our traffic is better.
Yes, Senator Cole.
Is there like a possibility you guys are going to increase the amount of, I don't know what the actual term is, like investigative journalism, similar to how like Wichita State's been doing it for their admin?
Yes. So one of the nice things about having Raphael still on staff is that he has the experience to do it, but we've also sort of changed the model of our news desk. So we have a head news editor like we've always had, but we have 2 assistant news editors, and they take more of the responsibility of like the normal editing process, and Raphael is focusing more on investigative and enterprising stories.
Any other questions for our speakers? Yes, Intern Booz.
As you're modernizing the website, do you have any plans to update or improve your mobile app?
Okay, so the app is like a bit of a thing. It wasn't really like successful in the launch, and the app predates me like being here, so I don't know the whole story of that, but Rachel can.
Yeah, our app is really expensive to upkeep, and it really never got off the ground. And about a year ago, we met with some publishers with the Kansas City Star, and what they said directly to us was apps are dead. Our app never got off the ground, and we're not expecting it to. And I personally am not interested in spending more money on keeping this app on the App Store and whatnot, because we have so many better places where we can invest that in.
Any further questions? Intern Oxner?
Yeah, so as you guys move to a more digital platform with more videos and stuff, is there like any considered collaboration with KKSU? Yeah.
Yes, so actually both of us work at KKSU right now. So we're working, so KKSU is a class. It's MC 406, and students are required as part of their digital track to work at the television station. And with both of us working there right now, we're working on developing like a little bit of incentive for those students to actually put their stories on our website, because they have the capability to do that. And a lot of the times we cover the same stories that they are, so it makes sense to have like a video on our website about the news articles we're already doing.
What?
The time for questions.
Sorry, I haven't been at Senate in like a year, so.
You're fine. The time for questions has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Brown.
I move to extend the time by 5 minutes. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, you guys have 5 more minutes. Are there any questions?
I think Rachel has more of an answer.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I say anything, I'd like to say thank you for asking questions. I did not expect any questions. But also going along with the KKSU, part of the, even though it's something I really do want to do, part of that is kind of working with the instructors and the professor in that class and professors in those 2 classes, and we don't know how open they are to offering that incentive to getting people to put their videos up. And we would have to rely on the other classmates who aren't directly involved in the Collegian to help with us in doing that.
All right, are there any further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you guys so much for coming. Just a quick reminder before we have our next open period speakers up that we need to keep laptops closed just for the courtesy of the people who are visiting to speak to us. So our next open period speaker is Rebecca Adams from the Student Veterans Association.
Rebecca Adams over there. My name is Katina Jabori. I am the event coordinator for SDA. This is
My name is Christopher Vitals. I'm the president. I'm not Rebecca Adams. I did not know that's how my voice sounded. Okay. So we are we just wanted to come, and first of all, we want to say thank you for having us. We used to be here a lot more often a couple years ago, and we want to actually be part of student government more, and we want to represent the veterans on campus. So we are, as it says up there, the Student Veterans Association. We are a Kansas State chapter of what is known as the Student Veterans of America. We are an entity of Student Life that is a representative for both military affiliated and veterans on campus. Next slide, please. So our mission is basically cut and dry. It's to assist the service member from military life, to transition them into academia, and thus prepare them for the professional world. We serve as kind of alumni network, post-graduation, and also support group for all the students during their time here at K-State. We provide events, we provide a support system, and also an outreach to both Fort Riley, to the local organizations, both from the clubs and out in Manhattan, to help with professional development and also just to cope with being a normal person again. For the most part, personally, when I got out of the Army, when she got out of the Army as well, we had like a little bit of a break, not a breaking point, but how would you say, like a culture shock?
slightly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna. So you guys may remember us from last year. We came up here asking you for assistance for the Keeping the Flag movement, 9/11 tribute that we had our partnership with RWB, which is the Red, White, and Blue team. Thank you guys. We had a great turnout for that, and we are back here asking for more assistance. We want to change the stigma of veterans on campus, as well as other military-affiliated students that we may have, dependents. And how we are actually trying to do that is by first asking you guys for support, and second, going out within the community and trying to build a bridge. Over the winter break, after the 9/11 tribute, we went to the Flint Hills Breadbasket. We volunteered with them. We're trying to build another partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters. We actually had them come out and talk to our meeting, had them come out and present to one of our meetings. They said that they have over 50 kids that are waiting for just a big brother or big sister to come hang out with them for an hour every other week. I don't think that's asking for much, but we are trying to also partner with HALO, the Hispanic American Leadership Organizations, to actually have us and them kind of partner out, go out and kind of get to know these kids. The youth is our future, as you guys already know, and yeah, so that's kind of what we're about.
There's another thing as well. We're trying to partner also with the Diversity Council. We have a huge event coming up. It's called the Consortium, where we bring different chapters from all across Kansas, from the different schools, bringing veterans and military affiliates together. And we wanted to bring in a speaker to bring as a demographic from both veterans to women's right empowerment, as well as LGBT representation. And we're working with the Diversity Council to bring her for the consortium. And this is basically a large conference that is spanning all of Kansas and bringing all the different schools together, so that way from professional development to working with with community outreach and everything else. And so just, again, a little bit about us, what we do. This is what's called the MRF. This is coming up in April 27th. We've rented out Old Stadium, and we have outreach to Fort Riley and all the corresponding fitness groups throughout all of Manhattan. It's a huge fundraiser for us, so that way we're able to bring back in scholarships. We provide scholarships to veterans and military affiliates. And it's a huge volunteering event, and we're wanting to bring out anybody and everybody who would like to volunteer. And we're just kind of outreaching and see who'd be interested.
It's our second year actually doing this. The first year went great. We had people come out from, I don't know if you guys know, 9 Round. They had a team come out. Some of the CrossFit teams came out. We had other student groups that just came out, just kind of had fun. And we just want to keep this going. As the consortium's this is our first one. The first one that the first Kansas consortium was held at KU. So obviously we're trying to, raise the bar a little bit. So by doing it here this year. So that's one way if you guys could help us out. And what's going to happen is that consortium is going to go to every other school. So we want to make sure that our names are out there, that, you know, K-State is here. K-State is not going to be behind KU for anything, obviously. And we're here to ask for assistance for you guys to come out and either join, participate, or just volunteer for our fitness challenge. Keeping us healthy.
Yeah.
That's what we're about.
I'm not gonna lie, that mile seemed a lot shorter when we set it up before I ran it. I'm not gonna lie.
It's the only reason why he likes his pictures, because he's in the front.
Yeah, this is the before picture. I just want to throw that out there. The after one is much terrible. So, do we have any questions at all?
How do you have to be recognized?
Oh, sorry.
Vice President Pitts.
How do students register to be in the challenge?
In the challenge?
Yeah.
So we actually have all the information on our web domain, which we can distribute out as well. We are posting flyers throughout all of the union and all the different dorms and everything else, and all around town. But Rebecca Adams, she has the actual. Do we have the?
I don't have one right now.
Nope, but we can get that.
So if you were here last year, I let you know about it for like a month and a half every week.
Okay.
So I'll be doing that again this year. But if you go out to our website, kstatesba.com, there's a registration link on the main page. Cool.
And it's honestly not too bad. It's a workout called a Murph, and it is we're grouping up into teams, and it is a mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then followed by another mile.
It sounds like a lot, but if you have 10 people, it's like,
yeah, you can break it up.
by so much.
And then if you do the pro, you just do double of all of it. Yeah.
All right, are there any other questions for our speakers?
Does anybody else have any questions?
Any more questions?
I saw someone back here who had their hand raised up. A little while ago, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I thought so also.
Actually, I have one more question. So with the exception of participating in this challenge and the Murph and everything, how else would you like to be supported by SGA? Are there any things that you've been thinking that we could help you on, or how can we enrich this partnership for the future?
Well, that's actually kind of twofold because you already have. Honestly, we went down to NatCon. It's a national convention where we learned a lot of things. There was breakout sessions and a conference, and we applied for SGA help for travel, which we did get, and we were able to get down. So first of all, I guess we should have led with that. Thank you, everybody here, for that. The second thing is that honestly, if you'd like to come, this is also an invitation. These the breakout sessions we're having, they are for veterans and everything else. However, we're bringing people such as, we're trying to partner with we're bringing a representative from Amazon, from Coke. There's a couple different corporations that are coming down, and even some local ones here in KC that are veteran and operated, just supporters of military in general. They're looking for, but the whole entire the speaker assembly at least can be open to everybody, and we're looking for partnership with other organizations just to help get our name out there. We're trying to, I guess, be a better representative of what we do represent. I mean, there is over 1,000 veteran students here, and we haven't done our job of actually being here and representing them. So if you want to help,
We have a meeting last Friday of every month. Come up to our vet center. You get some donuts, pick up a cup of coffee, listen to us talk for a little bit, and you guys can be on your way. Just get a little bit more.
you can get a donut and you can go to the Murph and then burn it off.
Feed you donuts, and then we're like, run. It's great. Any more questions?
Yes, caucus leader Spencer.
Where and what time is the meeting?
So the meeting's gonna be at the Veteran Center. It's on the second floor.
Okay.
Room 212,
217.
217. He works there. On every last Friday of every month, and it'll start at 8 o'clock.
So it'll be the 22nd this month. It's going to in the morning, and at the meeting we're actually going to go over some of the things that we got at NatCon. So some of the things that you guys helped us with, we're going to teach back. So.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, our final speaker for this evening is Katie Sullivan for the Kansas Young Democrats.
Hi guys. My name's Katie Sullivan, for those who don't know. Right now I serve as president of the K-State Young Democrats. My term is coming to an end. It's been an amazing experience. I also currently serve as the vice president of the Kansas Young Democrats, so that's on a state level. I'm currently running to be president of the Kansas Young Democrats, and tonight I'd like to share with you a part of my platform, specifically the part that focuses on diversity and inclusion and cultural competency. You can click the, okay, cool. Cultural competence is the ability to understand, communicate with, and effectively interact with people across cultures. Cultural competence encompasses being aware of one's own worldview, developing positive attitudes towards cultural differences, and gaining knowledge of different cultural practices and worldviews. After the brainstorming I've done this semester, just on my own, as well as the brainstorming I've done with instructors, department heads, and select student groups, I've come to the conclusion that not only would it be extremely beneficial, but it is necessary to advocate for courses in cultural competence to be implemented into the required curriculum of universities across Kansas. So that's like a third of my platform as I campaign for president, but I'm not talking to all the universities in Kansas right now. I'm talking to our university, the best university. Just, no, for real, go Cats. So these courses would be specifically tailored to each and every college: business, agriculture, arts and sciences, you get the gist. The main focus of these courses would be the intercultural development continuum. This is a well thought out, thoroughly researched way to increase cultural competency. It is recognized internationally as an effective way to strengthen multicultural inclusion in a community. At the core of the intercultural development continuum is the Intercultural Development Inventory, or the IDI. They're such mouthfuls. The IDI is the premier cross-cultural assessment of intercultural competence that is used by thousands of individuals and organizations to build intercultural competence to achieve international and domestic diversity and inclusive goals and outcomes. So at its core, the IDI is a test. I cannot stress this enough. The IDI is not a way to judge yourself, but rather a way to find room for growth. I encourage you to look into Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Your intelligence is not set at a level. There's no such thing as failure. There's only room for growth. And I think that applies to everything, but back to what I was talking about. The IDI is very similar to the strengths test. It's 30 to 45 minutes long, and you go off your first instinct to answer the questions. It's quick. The IDI must be taken under the individual supervision of a trained administrator. There are currently over 50 trained IDI administrators at Kansas State University. The test itself costs $10 per person. To pay for this, a department or sponsor would have to take it on. Right now at K-State, the IDI is required for student leaders in a classroom setting. But what are we if not student leaders? To summarize, it's our responsibility to encourage and build up our community. I believe this would be an effective way of doing so. The IDI is a tool that will help us recognize the humanity of all people, behave in a tolerant way, recognize and appreciate cultural differences and commonalities, and commit to building civility and cultural competencies in our daily interactions. That's all I have for tonight. If anyone wants to talk further or to help me with this endeavor or to brainstorm more about funding, you can get my number or after Senate. It's right there. Yeah, I open myself up to questions.
Are there any questions for our speaker? Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
So can you explain more about how the IDI works? You kind of compared it to strengths. So do you, like, after taking, like, the IDI, do you receive, like, what do you receive? Do you get, like, a score? Do you get, like your level? Like,
yeah, I hate like saying it like that. It's not like a rank, but it's like where you place on the spectrum.
Okay.
And the training administrator that like sits with you through the test, and there's like a preface, they explain stuff beforehand, and then there's like multiple discussions afterwards, which is why I think it should take place in a classroom setting. It's a very like, it's not just an individual thing where you sit there and taking oh cool, like it's a very like hands-on thing that you get help with understanding it. You're guided through it.
Any other questions? Director Lundin?
This has been implemented in Wildcat warm-up. Is there any other plans to put this into like orientation type program?
I know, yeah. No, there really isn't, and that's what I'm trying to do. When I first started like brainstorming this and just thinking about what I wanted to do as president, I wanted to get cultural competency courses into like the curriculum and like orientation and like transfer student orientation, like the first year courses you take at K-State. The problem with that though is so much thought and consideration needs to go into these courses so they're done right. Because there is a huge chance that these courses could be taught just in the wrong way, and it could end up being like inherently racist. Like, and so when I heard about the IDI, I was like, this is well researched, well thought out. But there's no right time for somebody to take the IDI. It could be at orientation. It could be a requirement to graduate. It could be any time. So that's definitely a good idea.
Are there any other questions? Senator Brown.
At the beginning of the year, I think someone told us we as senators were going to take the IDI training. Do you know if that's still something that is going to be happening or they're thinking about doing?
I've never heard anything about that. I would love to.
Can you repeat the question, Senator Brown?
I think at the beginning of the year, someone told us as senators we were going to take the IDI training, and so I was wondering if that was going to happen.
Do you want to answer that, Jordan?
Can I?
Yeah, Jordan, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so you are correct. That was something that we talked about at the very beginning of the semester. That was something that when it got brought up, IDI last spring, they were getting all the administrators to go through it and become the qualified administrators that she was discussing that have to sit down with you and kind of go through it. And we needed a broad base of those before they could implement it in things like Wildcat Warm-Up or do other groups like SGA. Then once we got to the point where we were going to do it, we had set out a time like October, November, but they were picking out the new directors for the Multicultural Student Affairs Office, or Department of Multicultural Student Affairs, and so they wanted to wait until they had those individuals solidified because the person who was going to go through with the IDI with SGA was one of the applicants for one of those positions, and so there's a little bit of a mess with that. So now the plan is hopefully Josh and then Dr. Bolton, who's one of the new directors, will be figuring out a time for SGA to do it, and then we're also trying to have a discussion about whether it's best to do it now or wait until we have our incoming SGA, because like Katie said, it does cost money to do. Luckily, we have a grant that allows us to do it within SGA, but we have to show that we can do it continually. Does that make sense? Sorry, that was a lot, but yes, it'll be good.
Yeah. Can I go on, or do I have to? Okay. I think it'd be great if SGA did that. We've had this program in place for a while now, right? That's what I.
I'm a little less than a year, probably.
Yeah. So the fact that we haven't gotten around to it yet is okay, but I was thinking we could get SGA to do it, and then once we all do it, we could get out, and with all the clubs, organizations, and fraternities and sororities that we're in, I mean, if you love the test, I feel like you should advocate for it. And just encourage as many people in all the organizations you're in to take the test. And the more people you encourage, the more people who take the test, the more people to advocate to get it into the curriculum, which is my ultimate goal. Yeah, that's pretty much, if anybody has any more questions. Okay.
Go ahead, Director Lundin.
So just like Strengths has the one free time to use it, would there be anything like that for this?
The one free time?
Yeah, like Strengths Quest has for incoming freshmen, they have the one free code to do. Would there be anything like that in the future?
That would be ideal. I've met with certain department heads and certain instructors, and that's definitely a goal to work towards. Yeah. Okay, Jordan.
Sorry, I was just going to clarify. So the Strengths test, there's a donor who donates every year to make that possible for all the incoming freshmen, so it'd just be probably the most likely way to do the IDI with that would be trying to find donors.
Yeah, a donor, a sponsor, or a department could take it on.
Time.
Time for our speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Cole.
Move to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. If there are no objections, you have 5 more minutes.
We're still in questions, right?
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Caucus Leader Heatherman.
My understanding is that after you take the IDI, it's like most effective if you sit down and meet with a qualified administrator for an hour. If we started doing this in large scale amounts, is there like enough faculty support for that to be feasible for those number of people to set up that appointment for it to be worth the investment?
I definitely think it's worth the investment, and we'll figure out. I think it's all about timing. We have over 50 administrators, so obviously we can't overwhelm them. But if we time it so that it's a freshman course, or we do it, or specific colleges do it at different times, I'm confident this is worth figuring out.
Are there any more questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll be moving on to the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our last Senate meeting? Caucus Leader Spencer.
I motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from last meeting. Are there any objections? If not, the minutes are approved. We'll move into announcements. So, biggest announcement, most of you have probably realized that I'm here instead of Ryan. He is sick tonight, so I'll be filling in. And also, because of that, we could not find the name tents. So name tents are missing as well, which is why you did not get them on the way in. So our first announcement on the agenda is the deadline to file for Student Senate is coming up tomorrow, February 8th at 5 p.m. Please join us in spreading the word and encouraging students across campus to run for these positions. Proxies for tonight are Wessel for Gammon. The SGA Member of the Week is Senator Michael Leverett for bringing strong debate and passion to Student Senate this last week. So let's have a round of applause for Michael. Our quote of the week is, "Set higher standards for your own performance than anyone else around you, and your only competition will be with yourself." From Rick Pitino. All right, so we will move into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs who are ready to give a report? Chair Spellman.
Okay, so last week I came up here and basically kind of explained the letter writing campaign that GR was going to be working on. That letter writing campaign has kind of concluded, but we are accepting letters. So Senator Cole is going to be going to DC for results, talking to all of our Kansas delegates. If you have any housing stories, if you want to write your own, please reach out to one of us or Vice Chair Warzakowski. We'll be able to get you the right resources, kind of explain how that's all set up, but we do want to try and accumulate as many letters as possible. So please get those to us as soon as possible. With the elections coming up and coming up very quickly, GR has taken on Get Out the Vote efforts. So we're probably going to do some tabling within the next couple weeks. I'm going to be looking for volunteers for that as well. So if you are available, I'd love to have you sign up to volunteer. We just want to get as many students voting in the election, just since the turnout in the last few years hasn't really been existing. And then the last thing I have for us is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. I've challenged GR to bring presentations to Senate. So the first one tonight is going to be by Intern Oxner. He's going to be talking about the rural communities and the students that come from those. But expect a presentation on kind of a weekly basis from here on out. And I yield the rest of my time to Intern Oxner.
All right, well, thank you, Chair Spellman.
So before I start this, I'm going to go into a little insight of why I chose this topic. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Noah Oxner. I'm a freshman in agriculture communications and journalism in the College of Agriculture, obviously. And I'm originally from Tribune, Kansas in Greeley County, which is the least populated county in the state of Kansas with just over 2,500 people. Greeley County is an interesting story, though. It's one of the third wealthiest counties in the state, and it's in a really interesting position for the rural divide right now. I chose this topic because it is growing nationwide across not only Kansas and across every university across the country. We're seeing this. You may have seen a recent NPR article circulating around about how rural students are at a disadvantage across universities. So if we can go to the next slide. What is the rural divide? This is something that's really undefined. And a little background on this topic, this is pretty new. This is something that universities nationwide have suddenly came into the spotlight because it's something new. It's something that we're suddenly just dealing with. So there's not much more information about that. So bear with me as I go through this. A lot of information is skimmed from the internet, from the USDA, from the Census Bureau, and sadly from the University of Kansas, because they're the only university in the state that studies this. So what is the rural divide? It's a fundamental divide between rural and urban students. This is just kind of a definition that I made up because it's just a fundamental divide. Me and Dr. Botzko have talked about this quite a bit. There's a difference between students that come from western Kansas, eastern Kansas, Johnson County, Sedgwick County, across the state. And this just isn't a rural issue. I'd like you to remember that as I go on with this. This just isn't an issue affecting rural students. This is also affecting students from urban areas of the state. School districts in Wichita are different than they are in Johnson County, are different than they are in Finney County. In all 105 counties, we're facing differences. So if we can go to the next slide. How many rural students are there at K-State? We don't know. As I said, this is a pretty new topic. The university doesn't count students as a rural minority yet. That's just something the way the university does statistics. Next slide. How do we define rural? There really is no definition because rural is different in every state. If we were to define rural in the state of Kansas, Manhattan would be considered rural. And to me, Manhattan is not a rural city. It has a target. So, less dense and sparse population not built up at a distance. That's how the United States Census Bureau defines rural. And that's how we've been defining rural for the past 40 to 50 years here in the United States. And it has a different variation from county to county in the state of Kansas on how we define cities as rural. Obviously, Wichita isn't rural, but some of the suburbs around Wichita could be considered rural. For example, the city of Newton, which is in Harvey County, is considered a rural community. And if you've ever been to Newton, they have a Walmart, not rural. Next slide. What percentage of Kansas live in rural environments? 25% of Kansas are considered to live in a rural environment. That's from the KU Institute for Policy and Research. There's a disclaimer there on what I do with KU's research. Next slide. So let's get down to it. What is the issue? Rural students are statistically more likely to drop out than any other student on campus at any university in the United States. That is kind of a shocking statistic. And I know for some of you, you're thinking, why are we even worried about this? Rural students are a very small population here at K-State. This isn't just about rural students. The work we're doing to bring rural students here to K-State and keep them here can also be used for other minority groups on campus. Rural students are facing the same problems that other minority groups across campus are facing. And if we can address those issues focused on a broad university standpoint, we may be able to solve it. And we're not going to be able to do that in 4 or 5 years. It takes a lot of money, and all of us know the financial standpoint of Kansas State, and all of us know the financial standpoint from the Board of Regents and the state legislature. So this is going to be something that's going to be tackled, not just addressing rural students, but addressing every minority and how we're going to get them ready for college, get them prepared to be at not only K-State, but every Board of Regent institution, and keep them here in the state of Kansas. Also, there is research that's been done on this. If you want the link to it, I can send it to you, so just contact me. As I said, rural students aren't the only group at risk. We must continue to work in making education accessible, affordable, and attainable. That's done by encouraging our legislature to invest in higher education. That's done by encouraging our university administrators to invest in college prep programs. And that's encouraging our university administrators to look into what we can do to attain rural students. Next slide. Again, what is being done? So I asked this question directly when I was at a meeting with Dr. Vasco about what we're doing to keep rural students and what we're doing to keep at-risk students in general. So rural students are considered at risk by K-State, especially if they're coming from very small high schools. My high school, my graduating class was 20. There was maybe 100 kids in that high school. It's very small. It jumps between 1 and 2A. But we're considered a moderately, very good sized school for that area. Most schools in our area have grades with kids not in them. So that's what's happening. Lane graduated with 5 kids. So what's being done here at K-State? Academic coaching, improved access to resources and summer programs, and college prep. College prep is an interesting topic because in the state of Kansas, we do not fund that. That is something the Department of Education in the state of Kansas does not have a very firm policy on yet. That is something that obviously we've been working on since the 90s and is very hard to achieve. But again, in meetings with administrators, they encourage me to look at what the state of Texas does to encourage their students to stay in the state of Texas, which is something that we've looked at to bring the legislators in the state of Kansas to consider. Again, this is a very hard topic. I myself have been appointed to the academic coaching program. I got a letter when I graduated from Greeley County saying that I should receive academic coaching because I was considered at risk because I was one of the first students to come from that high school to be in my program in years. So I was considered an at-risk student. I was flagged, and I'm still in academic coaching. So I received that service, which there's not enough funding for every student in the university to be in academic coaching. Again, this topic boils down to money, so remember that. Next slide. Okay, this is the NPR article I was talking about. Just read that sometime if you get a chance. And with that, I'm going to make this quick. Are there any questions?
Senator Cole.
I think, could you clarify what you meant, how tactics used on rural students could be also used for other marginalized students? Because I think it might have come off as that rural students also are experiencing the same things that other marginalized students are experiencing.
So yeah, to clarify that, I didn't mean that at all. First of all, there's a complete separate difference. What I mean is that those students, when they come to college, so for example, let's use some high schools in the state of Kansas. A kid from a underfunded and not as what we consider privileged high school in Wichita is going to be the same at-risk level as a student that's coming from a rural high school in western Kansas that doesn't have the same services, for example, Blue Valley does. So not to put minorities and rural students in the same box, are completely separate issues. I completely understand that. But what I'm saying is preparing students when they come to K-State first. Does that answer your question kind of in a really roundabout circle? I'm really sorry I can't directly answer that. Okay. You can jump to the last slide if you want.
Are there any other questions?
There's another one. There you go. Are there any questions? Perfect. All right, thank you.
Do we have any further committee reports? Chair Penny?
Yeah, so really brief, I want to thank the hard work of the Privilege Committee and a lot of people who joined us this past week, like Michael, John, Noah, Alan, Haley. We all put in probably like 4 hours of Privilege meetings on Monday and then tonight, so I wanted to give you a quick update on that. Tonight we voted on a new recommendation to decrease the Union Program Council by 2%. So we will be drafting this legislation and we will introduce it in 7 days as Senate next week for it to hopefully go through final action the week after that. So we postponed K-State Student Union for the time being. So on Monday we're going to jump back in with them, and you guys are definitely invited to come to that. Is there any questions?
Senator Leverett.
Yeah, what's the difference between the new proposal and the one that failed last week?
Yeah, so the question was, what's the difference between the one that failed last week and the new one that's coming out? As far as the contract goes with the numbers, that's going to come out the exact same. The only change that you're going to see is in the whereas clauses.
So the
follow up, Graham.
So the 2% decrease, which we voted against, is still going to be in this new bill?
Yes. Yep.
Can you have a speaking question? Yep. Can you speak to why that wasn't changed in the new bill that's coming out?
Yeah, I can't speak directly from the opinions of the privilege fee, but that new recommendation, I know you were at the meeting on Monday. That was 2 hours long. Everyone shared their opinions during that, and then tonight we had an hour and a half meeting to discuss that. In case you don't want to read Madison's minutes, there was a motion for a continuance that failed 5-7, and then there's a motion for a 2% decrease that passed 7-5. But if you would like to read more on that, I'm sure Madison will have those minutes up shortly, right?
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Are there further committee chair reports? Chair Colvin.
Okay, so I'm the chair of the Special Committee on Membership this year. Sorry, my laptop fell asleep. Okay, so if you're paying attention to the agenda, you'll see that the bill to grant committee members speaking rights is not on final action. And that's because we went through the statutes again with a more fine-tooth combed, and it turns out that they're in the statutes already. However, Senate is not currently doing that, as evidenced by last week's debate when someone gave or waived their speaking rights to Raj. So this is just a reminder and I guess a PSA. One, that we should all read the statutes more often and look through it with a more fine-tooth comb, because we looked through it to begin with, but we found it the second time around. So, but another thing is that we're also, so we didn't meet this last week because the Super Bowl, so I guess that's a big thing, but that's okay. So we'll be talking about this at the Special Committee on Membership, but it's not part of the Constitution, whereas we do grant presidents of different organizations on campus speaking rights in the Constitution. So that's just kind of a weird thing. It's only in the statutes, not the Constitution. So we'll be discussing that in the committee, but so if you have an opinion on that, you can let me know, or you can come to the meeting. We're holding it in committee for now, but again, my assumption is since it's in the statutes, we just need to be following that and all be aware of the fact that committee members are welcome to speak in Senate on their own right. Same goes for presidents. I know when Dr. Bosco was here, there were presidents of a couple different student organizations, and we were waiving our speaking rights to them when we didn't need to. And while it's not necessarily a bad thing, it definitely just makes it look like Senate is less approachable to the outside student body than it actually is, because many students outside of the people who are in this room right now or who are in this room right now have speaking rights, and we should give them those speaking rights and recognize their speaking rights on the floor of the Senate always. So yeah, I stand for questions.
Any questions? Intern Booz.
Can you speak to where it was in the statutes?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. It is in section 5502 Part B. Okay. So the Speaker of the Student Senate will recognize any guest who indicates a desire to speak, and then it goes on to talk about committee members as well. Somewhere in here further down. So it is also not super clear as well. So I'll also be talking to the working group about that too.
Any further questions? All right. Any further committee reports? Are there any director's reports? Director Boyd.
I'll keep this all short. So you all probably got an email from Sonia Lutter about a basic needs survey. So what that is basically, you may have heard me talk in the past about how 40% of students at some point or another are food insecure. Well, that was from a 2014 study, campus climate survey that was done, but not many students from 2014 are here anymore, so it's time we do another one, especially one more pointed towards food insecurity and financial insecurity. So I would ask that everybody please take that, and please try to get your friends and any other people to take that. The sample size for the 2014 study was, I think, 3,500 people. And so we want to try to get at least that, or if not more. Very important, we get a very good sample size to get a good estimate for the needs of K-State students. This is going to be important in determining how to allocate resources, talking about issues, etc. But there's a catch. So when you enter, when you fill out the survey, you can pick up a healthy snack they refer to, and I think it's just bananas or something. You can enter a chance to win one of two $250 book scholarships, and then one of two $100 grocery cards. So if you fill it out, maybe you can get one of those. I stand for questions.
Any questions? All right. Any further director's reports? President Keel.
Hi, everyone. Couple things for tonight. One, all of you should have gotten my student body email today about a textbook survey and also about elections, but want to focus on the textbook survey. So if you haven't taken it yet, please do that. Also, please copy that link once you open the page and send it to any of the people that you know, any of your friends, classmates, airdrop it on a note to everyone that you're around. I don't really care. Just get it out there as much as you can. Because this survey is going to be used widely by the university, hopefully if we can get enough data from it, to really understand what textbook costs are doing to our students, and then hopefully enact some change in how textbooks are used in the classroom, and have some data to give to faculty about why they should be using open educational resources so that you're only paying $10 course fee instead of for a $300 textbook. And then in addition to that, it'll be used across the state to get a picture of what Kansas institutions are like across our entire state and what we're doing about a textbook affordability for our students, because it's definitely a hidden cost when you're coming to college that not a lot of people recognize, and then they get here, get 2 weeks into their classes, and then find out that they don't have money to buy groceries because they spend it all on textbooks. So it's really important that we're all taking that and then sending it on. You also have a chance to win a $250 bookstore gift card or a $50 gift card for the union. So it's really exciting, lots of money, yay. Second thing for tonight, after last week's Senate meeting and the privilege fee vote and how we had that kind of confusion over whether it's supposed to be majority or 2/3, I went ahead and asked Tribunal to do a constitutional review over the Article 508B to make sure that we interpreted that correctly, and then if not, looking at what we need to change to make sure that's more clear in our Constitution, because the fact that we had to figure that out on the Senate floor while a bill was up here is not really acceptable to me, and so I want to make sure that we have that cleared up. Like Jansen said, the bill hasn't changed, so it's not really about having a different outcome for me. It's more about making sure that our Constitution makes sense for what we're doing here and that we understand it fully. And then my last thing, we are planning an SGA reunion, so yay, super exciting. But it's also a lot of freaking work, and we're trying to do it by April. So if you're interested, like planning events, have a little free time, shoot me an email, and I would love to chat about what we might be able to do. So what questions are there?
Senator Hildreth.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. Would the bill be passed like retroactively since it did pass 51% or not?
So in talking with Bill, we believe that it would essentially just be enacted because it passed by majority, but don't hold me tight to that because we're going to wait from Tribunal to hear what they say first and then kind of go down that rabbit hole to figure out what it should be.
Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
What kind of stuff do you have planned for the SGA reunion?
Sometime in April, and that's about as far as we've gone so far.
Really excited.
Yeah.
If you have ideas, feel free to tell us.
Any further questions? Senator Orzechowski.
Can you repeat the article that they're reviewing?
It's 508B. And I can send you like the blurb if you want to read it.
Any further questions? All right, thank you. Are there any further director's reports? Parliamentarian Watkins.
Hi guys, for those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Justin Watkins. I was sworn in as parliamentarian last week. Very interesting meeting to be sworn in at and be parliamentarians for. So if you need to contact me, I'm going to give you guys my number and email right now. It's 316-516-9706. If you have a bill that needs edits or anything like that, you can either shoot me a text or send me an email. My email is jwatkins99@ksu.edu. Thanks.
All right, any questions? All right. Are there any further director's reports?
I just had a open period addendum. I went and swiped their flyers. So if anybody wants to know more about the fitness challenge, I have them up here.
All right. Any other director's reports? All right, seeing none, we will move into approval of minor allocations. So the travel allocation to K-State First, Bill 181945, is coming favorably from the Travel Allocations Committee. They have requested $200 and are recommended $200. Is there a motion to approve this minor allocation? Chair Spellman.
I move to approve the minor allocation.
Second.
All right. I'd be seeking a motion to pass this unanimously. Chair Spellman.
I move to approve the minor allocations unanimously.
Second.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, this minor allocation will pass. We also have another minor allocation that was posted on the agenda in the wrong place. So if you see introduction of legislation, Bill 181951, that is also going to be considered in minor allocations. That is a travel allocation to the Kansas State University student chapter of the Mechanical Contractors Association of America, who requested $500 and were recommended $500. Is there a motion to approve this allocation? Chair Spencer, or Caucus Leader Spencer, excuse me.
I motion to approve this allocation unanimously. Second.
Are there any, it has been moved and seconded to approve this bill unanimously. Are there any objections? Yes.
This is introduction. Like it's a new bill. Like it's not being like approved unanimously. Yeah, so like it's just
I'm confused.
So it still needs to be like read.
It's introduction of minor allocation.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be approved.
You're right.
Okay. So introduction, you're right. Let's go back to Bill 45. I apologize. Will the author please come forward? Or is there a motion to consider Bill 45? Caucus Leader Spencer.
Motion to consider Bill 45. Second.
Well,
No. We don't need to consider 45.
I understand. Bill 51. Is there a motion to consider Bill 51? Intern Booz.
Move to consider Bill 51.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to consider Bill 51. Will the author, will the author please come forward?
Point of order. Point of order.
Yes.
To do final action first before introduction of legislation.
Yeah, he's right. Because I got it. I messed up. I put it in the wrong place, and that was me because it was put in the wrong place originally. So I will take the error on that. We will now move into final action. Thank you. All right, so our first resolution is 181936, support of using surplus faculty surcharge fees to extend a College of Business building. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 36, which has already been done because it's a resolution? Will the author please come forward? Are there any changes or amendments to the resolution?
We just have a few authors that need to get added before, but that's it. Some authors that didn't get added.
Okay. First right to debate.
Sweet. I'm going to keep it pretty short and sweet. A lot of it's in the whereas clauses. With this bill, what we're trying to do is help alleviate the lack of study space that has kind of stricken campus since Hale went down. I know if you live on the east side of campus, you've recognized it. We kind of have nothing. We used to have Hale, but that was still in the middle of the campus. The people on the west side of campus have the engineering building, and then they have the union as well. it's kind of hard for us to get to the union when you live on the other side of campus, so that's what this is kind of looking at. In order to pay for this, what we're planning on doing, me and a few other senators stepped into a TFSC meeting, and that's when we learned that the $65 per credit hour fee that business students pay is kind of not being utilized to its fullest extent. You can see the surplus numbers on there, but it's around 1.7 million as a combined total for the past 3 years. And that money in the past has traditionally been used to hire and retain new faculty. That's what it's like, the mission for that money is. But in the past, it's been used for student workers as well. And on top of that, it's been used to pay university callbacks, which is when, like, I have the exact phrasing here, but callbacks are when the university budgeted and distributed more tuition money to colleges than what the university ultimately brought in due to lower than anticipated enrollment. So that just kind of shows that that money is sitting in a surplus box and it's being used for other things across campus when it is a $65 credit hour fee that business students pay specifically to hire and retain new faculty. And that's exactly what we need to keep the business building open. When we talked with Dean Gwinner, he's worried about the safety of the business building. If we keep it open later, and that's just because they don't have the faculty or the student workers right now hired to kind of keep the business building open later. That's pretty much it. I'd just like to say that the students that are paying these fees, I wrote a proposal for my English 417 class and presented to it. And the business students that realized that their $65 credit hour was not being utilized to its full extent were not very happy. And I think this would kind of, one, alleviate the study space issue that we have, but two, help make right what the College of Business students are kind of feeling as a not misuse of their money, but I guess not use of their money.
All right, are there any questions? Seeing none, is there any other debate in this bill? Or resolution, excuse me. In the positive, Caucus Leader Heatherman.
Hi, I know this bill resolution, sorry, probably wouldn't have any like issue passing on its own, but I did want to come up and provide some additional context to the things that we heard as we were putting together this resolution. Comments from Dean Gwinner. He's stated multiple times to us that he has 3 primary concerns. One being cost, which is heavily addressed in this legislation. The second being risk of assault to students, and the third being vandalism. Our hope is that in it being properly funded, that the presence of more staff and security can help to mitigate both of the other risks. And additionally, something that we did is we reached out to Lori Getch, is that right? The Dean of Hale, to talk about her experience operating a building that's open late. And it was really important to us before we brought this before you that she told us in her 15 years here, there's never been an extreme act of vandalism or there haven't been any reported assaults. So that's all.
Are there any questions? Senator Cole.
Do you know what like his founding logic on that is? Because I don't have any experience with that in the College of Engineering, and that's open 24/7 too.
Yeah, so this is something we've gone back and forth a lot on. And his primary concern with assault specifically is the nature of the building and having small study rooms and like being widely spread out. And if you were like, say on the 4th floor and traffic through the building wasn't as high, and it can just be very isolated. Yes.
We also, I don't know if you guys do, we don't have cameras in that building, except for the stairwell.
It's a new building. What the heck?
We want to protect student privacy and not make them feel like they're being watched all the time, so we can see if something happens, we can see kind of exits and stuff. And we don't have cameras all throughout the building.
Okay, let's bring it back to.
There is we do have a swipe card system on the building though, so that's been a continuous conversation with Dean Gwinner. Is that something that we could utilize and say only give
hopefully like all students, but in terms of like vandalism concern.
Senator DiMarando.
Yeah, is the plan to hire more student staff, or what's kind of the plan there?
Yeah, the plan would be to partially employ more student workers who are willing to work later hours. It wouldn't be, we're not looking at like 24/7 right away or even like 2 a.m. Like really we're pushing for 12 or 1. So to get more student workers in part to, do more rounds and close down the building, but also have a general like security presence, maybe not constantly, but, walk through the building and stuff.
Yes, go ahead.
So is there an issue with like vandalism now, or is this just something that Dean Quinter's like, hey, I think this could be an issue?
Yeah, I'd say that there's like issues with
like leaving a candy wrapper is one thing, but is there actually people spray painting the walls doing something constructive?
No, there is not. Again, when we sat down to work on this, we thought that the benefits outweighed the cost of putting that forward. Again, he brought up the issue of no security cameras and worried about it being such a new facility.
Are there any further questions? See none, is there any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Any debate at all?
It's not debate. It's a motion.
Yes, Senator Cole.
I move to approve this resolution unanimously.
It has been moved and seconded to approve this resolution unanimously. Are there any objections? Seeing none, this resolution is approved unanimously. Will the author of Bill 1819-47 please come to the floor? Are there any changes or amendments to the bill?
No, there are not.
First right to debate.
All right, so this bill is just closing all of the privilege fee accounts for any student organizations that received funding and then didn't use all of the funding that they received. In total, there's $31,375.58, and those will all go into reserve accounts to be used by the various committees that allocated the funding in the first place in future years.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote on Bill 47.
All right, Adams?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Arnoldi?
Yes.
Belk? Bergston?
Yes.
Bothwell?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Carpenter? Cole?
Yes.
DeMoranville?
Yes.
Dunfield?
Yes.
Esses?
Yes.
Gammon?
That's my proxy.
Gillian King?
Yes.
Grover? Gupta? Hammond?
Yes.
Harp? Heatherman?
Yes.
Alec Hildreth?
Yes.
Derek Hildreth?
Yes.
Huffman?
Yes.
Javin?
Yes.
Carmali?
Yes.
Kidd?
Yes, my proxy.
King?
Yes.
Kulkarni?
Yes.
Leverett?
Yes.
Mari?
Yes.
Marshall? Morgan?
Yes.
Neatery? Orth?
Yes.
Orzakowski?
Yes.
Pelton?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Riffle?
Yep.
Roman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Spellman?
Yes.
Spencer?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Tile?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Chumland?
Yes.
Wessel?
Yes.
Wilhelm?
Yes.
Whitmer?
Yeah.
All right, it passes 43 to 0.
All right, will the author of Bill 48 please come forward?
Make a motion. Bills 48, 49, 50. Roll call votes.
No. Second.
I'll go ahead and accept that motion, I think, because they're all allocations. Okay, so it has been.
I would like to have Bill 49 be separated.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Would you like to withdraw your motion? Or do you want to vote on?
Yeah.
Okay.
48 and 50, bulk roll call vote.
It has been moved to hold bills 48 and 50 for bulk roll call vote. Is there a second to that motion? Are there any objections to doing a bulk roll call for bills 48 and 50? Have there been any amendments or changes to Bill 48?
No changes.
All right, then first I'd like to debate.
Okay, yeah, so we met with all 9 of these groups here about open house funding, and open house will be April 4th, I believe, here on campus. And our budget was $10,025, and then we met and allocated these sums of money, and they totaled the budget total, so yeah.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Seeing none. Let's move to Bill 50, if that's okay.
Well, you can do 49 vote on it. 50 of it.
We'll do 49, vote on it, and then we'll do that.
Out there.
Have there been any changes to Bill 49?
No changes have been made.
First right to debate.
Yeah, so we met with the Kansas State Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity, and they will be holding their annual symposium, and these speakers will be coming, and these funds will be going to pay for the travel and the speaker fees for the speakers that will be coming there on February 22nd, I believe. Yes.
Are there any questions? Chair Spellman.
Did AGR seek any other funding besides us?
No, they did not. This is the main part of the funding. Before, in the past, they've paid it all out of their own pocket, and then when they were made aware of this, they are an ISO, so then they applied for funding through us for their on-campus event.
Intern Gloucester?
Does AGR have their own means of fundraising?
Yes, they do. They do like philanthropy events on campus, even though those funds probably don't go to this, but then I'm sure with their membership and their undergraduate dues and stuff, I'm sure that those general funds would go to this event to help pay. So,
Senator Cole.
Given the exclusive nature of Greek life, was Alpha Gamma Rho allowing other student organizations or the student body in general to get involved with this event?
Yes, I've actually attended this event before, and there's probably been, there in the Leadership Studies building, there's probably been up to 200 people filing in and out. It's usually about a 3 to 4 hour event that goes on during an afternoon there on a Friday. So yeah, it's available for everyone. It's mainly geared towards ag majors. I can't say that, it's geared to other majors because these speakers are talking about ag issues and stuff. But when you look at all this, especially with the technology and stuff, like that's something that goes across many other industries too, not just ag.
With a follow-up.
Granted.
So in the planning of this event, did Alpha Gamma Rho allow other organizations or students to get involved with this?
Yes, other students can attend the event. Is that what
I'm
you're
asking, did they get involved with the planning, not if they can attend?
Well, this event is being held by them fully for other people to attend. Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm asking, did they allow other student organizations or students in general to get involved with the planning of this event?
Well, they allowed SGA to be involved because they had our committee's consent to provide funds for them.
We haven't voted on that, so that's debatable.
All right, I'm going to remind members that if you want to debate, you can definitely come up here and do so. Are there any other questions? Caucus Leader Whitman.
Is the Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity a professional fraternity?
Yes, I think technically it's a professional social fraternity, but yes.
Olive?
Granted.
So what does that mean, being a professional fraternity in addition to a social fraternity?
Well, I mean, the classifications of fraternities, there's several different ways. I forget what I think the main classifications are: professional and social and different aspects for those. But the main point of the professional aspect of this is to get people ready for later on in life and having professional things. And having an event like this really fulfills that, because you look at these speakers here, like Casey Neiman and stuff. He is part of a large agri firm, and he's developing technology and that type of stuff that's going to be used in the industry. And the college students that are here now will probably be working in those industries too, or looking for jobs in those industries. So this is going to give them a good insight to that for their future.
Just a reminder to not ask questions that we already know the answers to. Director Valdez.
In what ways is this event going to help the greater student body community?
Well, I think it's going to educate the student body on stuff that's happening outside the world. And you see the agri industry, we all eat food, and Kansas State College of Ag is one of the premier ag colleges here in the nation. And to have these professionals come in, our committee met with them, and we voted on this event having educational purpose and being open to students to come visit. Like I said before, over 200 students have came before in the past to listen to different topics and that type of stuff. So it really gives an insight to what's happening, out there in the industry of agriculture.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, is there a debate in the negative? Senator Orskowski.
So I guess just maybe debate, but also just a general question. So my concern with this bill is this funding could be used for just campus organizations in general that are putting on events and things. That was why we had a lot of questions about are organizations co-sponsoring this with AGR? So I understand that, and I appreciate that AGR does a lot of really good things around campus, and its members are very involved. But I would like to know they have the means potentially to fund this themselves, whereas other student organizations don't necessarily have those same funding avenues that Greek Life does.
Are there any further questions? Are there any speakers for our question? Are there any questions for our speaker? Yes.
Do clubs don't have dues? They get used to help fund stuff?
Can you speak a little louder?
Do clubs not have dues to help them fund stuff?
Yeah, so not all organizations as far as...
Please remember, we are not asking questions we already know the answers to.
Yeah. Not all organizations do have dues. Some do, but for the most part, not all campus organizations collect dues of members, nor would we necessarily want them to, because we want organizations to generally be open, at least as open as possible. So when things cost money, because of course they cost money, we want to be able to have those, happen. So if an organization collects dues and that restricts people from being involved in that organization, we would rather them not collect dues and then seek money from organizations such as this organization, so that we can help support what they're doing instead of their own members supporting what they're doing, because not everybody can afford to pay dues into organizations, just generally.
Intern Glusser.
So is any money that students pay in tuition or any fees going to this organization?
Going to this SGA or
to AGR?
Yeah, so if we were to pass this bill, this would be student dollars going to AGR, yes.
Further questions? Intern Oxner.
Isn't AGR considered an independent student organization, just as the tennis club, just as pickleball club, just as everything else?
Remember not to ask questions we already know the answer to. Yes.
So is AGR profiting off of this at all?
I do not know the answer to that. I will, yep, defer to Nils.
No.
That's good. It's good information. Thank you.
Further questions?
And I don't know the answer. Do we regularly fund other ISOs? I really don't know.
Can somebody add more context
Yeah.
to that? Because I don't necessarily know the answer as far as how many number of ISOs we have funded. I know they are open to being funded.
Yeah, if you'd like to defer to anyone.
Who knows the answer?
Okay, so this year alone, we funded to about 6 or 7 travel ISOs. I know Nils has funded at least a couple, so yes, ISOs are fully allowed to be funded. So that's the thing.
Yep. I guess the question was what percentage of the funding requests come from ISOs versus DSOs?
I would say about like a quarter to a fifth of them. They usually don't have like advisors at K-State, so they don't get the same advisor assistance and funding, but they are equally like given the opportunity to.
I just wondered if we do it somewhat regularly.
Can I ask a question? So my question would be, how many can these organizations how many of them collect dues? The ISOs that we funded, do you know?
I would say most of them do. I mean, this year, like we funded like Phi Beta Sigma, they're almost like cultural fraternity. They have dues. We funded like the Collegiate Catalyst Club, Veterinary Business Management Association. They all have dues the same. So pretty much all of them have dues.
Okay.
Some way or fashion.
Thank you.
Is there any further questions? Senator Cole.
So could you clarify why you are in opposition to funding a Greek independent student organization versus independent student organizations in general?
So I guess I would say that's a leading question because you assume that I'm opposed to them because they're a Greek organization, which isn't necessarily the case. I guess my concern really lies with the fact that I guess I'm not as interested in funding organizations that have like great means of fundraising already. And as I understand it, Greek Life generally has very well-established means of fundraising. So maybe somebody else can speak more on that, but that is my understanding as of now.
Senator Wilhelm.
This is a question I don't know if you know the answer to, but do you know the funds AGR has gotten this year through their philanthropies or whatever they do to get funds?
I definitely do not know the answer to that, but I would love to know the answer to that, yes.
I can inform that. Neil said that they didn't do any fundraising for this event already.
Remember that you need to be recognized by the speaker or deferred. Cox Leader Carmali.
I don't have a question. I wanted to clarify his question. Is it allowed?
Point of clarification.
You can ask your own question.
Okay. Never mind.
Time. The time for our speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator King.
I move to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. Are there any objections? Seeing none, are there any further questions? All right. If not, is there any further debate in the positive? Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
Hey all, I'm going to keep this pretty short and brief. I just want to summarize why I am voting in the positive on this bill. I also want a little preface. I don't like debating in front of interns because of I have interns and I don't want to influence how they see things. But this is pretty important to me, how I'm going to vote. So I just kind of want to explain that right now in front of everyone. So the reason I am voting yes for this bill is because of all the information that's already been provided in the agenda. First, this bill was referred out of committee 8-0 to 0. So if there was any opposition or any oversight, any reasons why we should not be funding it, I have trust that the committee would have recognized that. I know multiple members on the committee, you all do. So I have faith in the committee's ability to send out this recommendation. And if there was any issues, I think it would have been caught by now, or we would have at least known that was contentious in committee. Finally, just kind of looking over the bill. This is for like having speakers come to campus, which we regularly fund throughout the year. That's what most of on-campus allocations does throughout the year. And it's also like an event that's not only open to the public, but it's being held in leadership studies. So again, pretty commonplace. I'm certain like all of you have attended events in leadership studies before. So I don't think it really matters what the student organization is that we're funding. Like our job, like as student senators, is to help fund others. I am not in a Greek organization. I'm going to preface that right now, just about myself. But that doesn't mean I don't think we should have events that are like accessible for all students that like they're able to attend and benefit from. Like the main like target audience of this like bill isn't necessarily the Greek organization. It's the College of Ag students. I think the College of Ag students deserve to hear speakers and relevant information in their career fields. So that's why I am voting yes on this bill, and I'll stand for any questions. So.
Questions for the speaker? Seeing none, is there any further debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Intern Oxner.
So as Intern Coordinator Bothwell said, that this is bringing speakers to campus for the College of Agriculture. To be completely open, clear, and honest, I'm in a Greek organization and it's not AGR. So I would just encourage you to vote yes on this bill. It's going to bring speakers to campus for the College of Agriculture. It's going to be able to serve students, for them to listen to, and educational opportunities. As Intern Coordinator Bothwell said before, we do fund speakers from other independent student organizations, and this is an independent student organization. Thank you. I stand for questions.
Senator Cole.
Why shouldn't they seek funding from the College of Agriculture instead of SGA?
Point of order. Debate's not germane.
It's supporting College of Agriculture students. Why shouldn't they seek College of Agriculture funding?
Can I?
Point of order. Question's not germane.
I'll go ahead and answer that if I can.
I'll allow it. It's dealing with agriculture.
So yeah, to answer your question, Senator Cole, the College of Agriculture does bring in speakers already. So I don't know the College of Ag's budget specifically very well, but I'm pretty sure they're probably at capacity for how much they can bring in for speakers already. This just adds the ability for students to have more opportunities to hear from speakers in the agriculture industry and to connect. And to answer that question further, it gives students the opportunity to connect with leaders in the agriculture industry. So I would just, again, encourage a yes vote on this.
Further questions? Yes.
Point of order. To do that, they would have to come to the College of Ag Council, and we don't have the funding for that, so here they are.
Okay. Any further questions? Senator Orskowski.
Do you know how many students, like generally from the College of Agriculture, go to this event? Like, maybe what's the anticipated turnout?
I don't, but I can refer that question out to Senator Bothwell.
Yeah, it's in the whereas clause, page 180.
Could also
follow up. The
Great.
question was specifically for like how many that, I guess maybe what percentage of those would be in AGR versus like just general agricultural students?
Okay, I will yield that question to Vice President Pitts.
Great question, Matt. I go to the Ag Symposium every year, as have many of my peers. My professors encourage it, and a lot of our courses we're encouraged to go to extra speakers and learn about like the industry outside of our curriculum, so it's a really good opportunity to do so. Obviously, AGR members are there, but AGR is like, I don't know, one of you could speak to this, but there's probably 60 in AGR, so there's a lot who aren't, and a lot of non-ag majors who go as well to learn about the ag industry. My friend Tori goes, several others do as well, to learn about how to improve.
And I think Senator Wilhelm can add to that too.
And I'd probably say a good like 15 to 20% are industry leaders across, like in Manhattan. I know the Kansas Department of Agriculture, the Kansas Soybean Commission, as well as the Kansas Corn Commission also partakes in the symposium just to watch the speakers. So there's a lot more than just AGR.
And to add to that, some of these speakers, if students can bring them proof that they could prove for certain credits in certain classes, for example, in the Global Food Systems and Leadership class, you have to attend speakers, and there's a chance that some of those could be approved for credit for students in class. So this also opens up opportunities for students that aren't even ag majors to learn about the ag industry, because even in global food systems leadership courses at Kansas State, which we are one of the only universities in the country that does that, in the world, there are students who are in that course that are not in the College of Ag. For example, I'm in one, and a large majority of that class is not the College of Agriculture. Are there any more questions for me? Senator King.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but how much does the overall event cost to put on?
I cannot answer that question. Can anyone answer that question? Does it need to be repeated?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
The total event costs $1,500, and they're requesting funds. Well, they requested promotional funds and lecture, speaker, and entertainer funds, and we, as a committee, did not deem that their promotional funds should be funded, and also part of their lecture, speaker, and entertainer funds. So we cut them down from $1,250 down to $800. The stuff that we deem need to fund, like the promotional stuff.
Also, one last point. I encourage you to remember that members of independent student organizations are paying tuition at this university and can use it. Are there any more questions?
Further questions? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Any debate in the positive? Any debate at all? Seeing none, we will move forward to a roll call vote on Bill 49.
Adams.
Yes.
Armstrong.
Yes.
Arnoldi.
Yes.
Belk. Bergston.
Yes.
Bothwell.
Yes.
Bowen.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Carpenter. Cole.
Yes.
DeMoranville.
Yes.
Dunfield.
Yes.
Esses.
Yes.
Gammon.
Yes, by proxy.
Gillian King.
Yes.
Grover.
Yes.
Gupta. Hammond.
Yes.
Harp. Heatherman.
Yes.
Alec Hildreth.
Yes.
Derek Hildreth.
Yes.
Huffman.
Yes.
Javin.
Yes.
Karmali.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes, by proxy.
King.
Pass.
Kulkarni.
Yes.
Leverett.
Pass.
Mari.
Yes.
Marshall. Morgan.
Yes.
Neatery. Orth.
Yes.
Borzakowski.
Yes.
Pelton.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Riffle.
Yes.
Roman.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Spellman.
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Tile.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Chumlin.
Yes.
Wessel.
Yes.
Wilhelm.
Yes.
And Whitmer.
Yes.
Okay. King.
Yes.
And Leverett.
Yes.
Okay. Bill 49 passes 43 to 0.
All right, will the author of Bill 50, I believe, come forward? Are there any corrections or amendments to the bill?
No.
All right, then first right to debate.
All right, so this is a travel allocation to the Hispanic American Leadership Organization. They will be going to a national conference. It's called Defend Democracy Here and Now. They're going to get some great skills, get to learn how to bring like cultural competency back to K-State, and it's going to be really great. Yeah, so that's about it.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? In the positive? Any debate at all? All right, seeing none, we will move forward to a bulk roll call of bills 48 and 50.
Adams.
Yes to all.
Armstrong.
Yes to all.
Arnoldi. Belk. Bergston.
Yes to all.
Bothwell.
Yes to all.
Bowen.
Yes. To all, sorry.
Brown.
Yes to all.
Carpenter. Cole.
Yes to all.
DeMoranville.
Yes to all.
Dunfield.
Yes to all.
Esses.
Yes to all.
Gammon,
Yes to all by proxy.
Gillian King,
Yes to all.
Grover,
Yes to all.
Gupta, Hammond,
Yes to all.
Harp, Heatherman, Hildreth,
Yes to all.
Hildreth,
Yes to all.
Huffman,
Yes to all.
Javin,
Yes to all.
Karmali,
Yes to all.
Kidd,
Yes to all by proxy.
King,
Yes to all.
Kulkarni,
Yes to all.
Leverett,
Yes to all.
Mari,
Yes to all.
Morgan,
Yes to all.
Neatery, sorry, Orth,
Yes to all.
Orzakowski,
Yes to all.
Pelton,
Yes to all.
Penny,
Yes to all.
Riffle,
Yes to all.
Roman,
Yes to all.
Smith,
Yes to all.
Spellman,
Yes to all.
Spencer,
Yes to all.
Sullivan,
Yes to all.
Tile,
Yes to all.
Thompson,
Yes to all.
Chumlin,
Yes to all.
Wessel,
Yes to all.
Wilhelm,
Yes to all.
and Whitmer.
Yes to all.
Okay, bills 181948 and 181950 pass 43 to 0 to 0.
All right. Next on the agenda is the introduction of minor allocations. So this is where Bill 181951 should be, and that is the travel allocation to Kansas State University student chapter of the Mechanical Contractors Association of America. Yeah. Is there a motion to consider Bill 51? Intern Booz.
I move to consider Bill 51.
Second.
Will the author please come forward?
You usually read it up there for minor allocation.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I guess I will. Yeah, they requested 500 and are recommended 500. That's actually right. Cool, awesome. So now that's been introduced. Okay, and that bill will be referred to Travel Allocations Committee. All right. We are now going to move into second open period. Are there any speakers for second open period? All right. I would like to make an announcement. The announcement about Senate filing due at 5 p.m. tomorrow, someone has told us that is incorrect, and it is actually at 4 p.m. tomorrow, just so everyone is aware. Any other open period speakers? All right. Seeing none, reference of legislation, Bill 51 will be referred to the Travel Allocations Committee, and we will move into second roll call.
Adams,
Here.
Armstrong,
Here.
Arnoldi, Belk, Bergston,
Here.
Bothwell,
Here.
Bowen,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Carpenter, Cole,
Here.
DeMoranville,
Here.
Dunfield, Esses,
Here.
Gammon, Gillian King,
Here.
Grover,
Here.
Gupta, Hammond,
Here.
Harp, Heatherman, Alec Hildreth,
Here.
Derek Hildreth, Huffman,
Here.
Javin,
Here.
Karmali,
Here.
Kidd, King,
Here.
Kulkarni,
Here.
Leverett,
Here.
Mari,
Here.
Marshall, Morgan,
Here.
Neatery, Orth,
Here.
Orzakowski,
Here.
Pelton,
Here.
Penny,
Here.
Riffle,
Here.
Roman,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Spellman,
Here.
Spencer,
Here.
Sullivan,
Here.
Tile,
Here.
Thompson, Chumlin, Wessel, Wilhelm,
Here.
and Whitmer.
Here.
Sorry, Thompson's here.
I gotcha. There are 41 senators present, 3 excused, and 5 absent.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Chair Sullivan.
I move to adjourn, same time, same place next week.
It has been moved and seconded to adjourn until then. If there are no objections, we're adjourned.
Thank you for your answer. I have a website that's
until I got enough responses to contact. I talked to people for those.